It's Wednesday, so let's talk dorsal-rostral expansion. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect. All right. Well, it's Wednesday, and so that means that tomorrow's Thursday, which means at 6 a.m. tomorrow, we've got the Coffee and Coaches Conference call, as usual. These calls have been great. The group is getting bigger. Everybody's getting comfortable with the format, so there's a lot of back and forth, which has been really good. I've enjoyed these calls tremendously. We go long on these babies because they're again, there's just so much fun. So please join us for that. Okay, Wednesday, crunch time. Got to dig in. I want to talk about dorsal-rostral expansion today because I got a couple questions that came through Q&A. I had a couple clients that were dealing with a couple of issues. And it seems that people actually have difficulty sensing whether they are accomplishing this task or not. So real quick, let's talk about measures that are going to support whether we are identifying the reacquisition of dorsal-rostral expansion. So this is going to be your traditional measures of external rotation at 90 degrees of shoulder abduction. And so when you lose that measure, it's pretty clear that you've got dorsal-rostral compression issues that are preventing you from capturing the shoulder position to allow external rotation to occur. You're also probably going to lose horizontal abduction under these circumstances as well. So monitor those first and foremost. Number two, you've got to eliminate interference. So the 13th commandment, thou shalt not create interference in regards to your goals. And so let's get all that stuff out of the way. So bilateral symmetrical rowing, chin ups and pull downs with an extreme arch, supine pressing like bench pressing with scaps approximated, and then things like bilateral face pulls. Now, none of these exercises are bad. It's just that when we're trying to reacquire dorsal-rostral expansion, they are interference. Unilateral activities can actually create some reciprocal turning, which can be of benefit under certain circumstances. But in many of these cases, these are great exercises for things like powerlifting and bodybuilding because, number one, they increase the compressive strategy that allows you to increase force production in your bench press, which is great. They flatten you out, which makes you wider. So bodybuilders love this kind of stuff, but you're going to sacrifice something in the process in most cases. Other activities that are interference. So the traditional I's, T's, and Y's that everybody thinks that they need to do for shoulder health. There are certain people that benefit from this, and then there are a lot of people that don't. All you got to do is remember the Terry Project from way back. Terry was a guy that came to me that had been doing a program that had I's, T's, and Y's as a foundation and was trying to actually improve his posture and got the double whammy of actually working really hard and then not getting the return on investment and actually went in the wrong direction. So please keep that in mind. So what I want to do is I'm just going to cut away. I'm going to do a series of clips that we've used in the past that will be of great benefit. But before I do that, go to the IT and Y video on YouTube. Make sure you watch that. And then we're going to look at a clip on feeling dorsal-rostral expansion so you understand what that actually feels like. And I'm going to show you two of my favorite exercises for expanding the dorsal-rostral area. One is a seated version, which is great for people that have wide infrasternal angles, concentrically oriented pelvic outlets. And then the standing version, which is the Better Band pull-apart video, which I just love that exercise for a lot of people. So hopefully that is helpful for you guys today. Have a great Wednesday, and then we will see you tomorrow morning on the Coffee and Coaches Conference call. See ya. So I got a question from Ryan, and Ryan says, I'm wondering what dorsal-rostral expansion should feel like. I think I know how to do it, and I believe I can see it during certain exercises, although I'm not sure how it should feel. Any explanation would be helpful. Ryan, this is a really good question because I think that it's a lot easier for us to visualize this on someone else than it is to feel it ourselves. So let's go through a couple of potential strategies that might be helpful. So Ryan, one of the simplest things that you can do is actually just anchor the upper extremity and then try to create the dorsal-rostral expansion. So one of the easiest ways to do this is to keep us through this inhalation strategy in the early phases of flexion. So all I really need to do is turn towards my table, and I'm going to anchor my hands on the table so I'm not leaning on them, because that could potentially create a compressive strategy posteriorly. But I do want to have physical contact with the table. I'm also going to emphasize the pisiform side of the heel of my hand, so the pinky side of my hand, because that's going to help me promote posterior expansion of the dorsal rostral area. So as I anchor my hands on the table, that's my primary point of contact. I'm going to extend the arms, and I'm going to try to create as much space between my scapula as possible. Now, a lot of folks under these circumstances have a tendency to want to try to elevate the scaps. So the easiest cue that I give folks is go ahead and shrug up as hard as you can, but then unshrug, and that's the position that I want you to push from. And so now all I want to do is create distance away from the table. So while I don't want to lean on the table, I'm going to push myself away from the table, and that's going to create a stretching sensation between my scapula. Then if I take my inhalation from there, and I breathe in, I start to feel an increase in that stretching sensation, and that's your dorsal rostral area expanding. Ryan, I'd also refer you to the dorsal rostral expansion exercise in sitting that is already up on YouTube. Ryan, if you're still having trouble feeling dorsal rostral expansion, here's a little tweak that we can give to a similar position that we use with hands on the table. But what I want you to do is you're going to make fists, you're going to crisscross your fists and put the pinky side of your hands together. Drop it down between your knees. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this. I'm going to just give myself a little bit of squeeze with my knees, nothing too strong. And then I'm going to try to move away from my hands. And again, making sure I have the unshrugged position, and I'm going to pull away. And again, what you're going to feel is a little bit more dorsal rostral expansion under those circumstances by that stretch between the scapula. And then once again, I would hit a comfortable inhalation so you can feel that area expand. I would avoid an aggressive inhalation, as this might cause a compensatory breathing strategy where you would try to expand anteriorly versus posteriorly. So again, a gentle inhalation under those circumstances, fist crossed, arms long, and try to create that space between the scapula. See how that works for you, Ryan. If it doesn't, let me know and we'll figure something else out. So I got a question from Mike, and Mike asked, what's the best strategy for one to achieve dorsal rostral expansion without creating a bunch of forward bending of the spine? So this is a really common problem, because a lot of people can't differentiate between expanding that dorsal rostral area between the scapula and bending the spine forward. So I'm just going to show you a little activity that's very easy to execute and will give you a very true sensation of dorsal rostral expansion. You're going to need a little bit of a band tension, and you're going to need a surface to rest your elbows on. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to support my elbows on the surface. I'm going to make sure that I'm not reaching above 60 degrees, but I want the elbows in front of the body. Now, I'm going to imagine somebody pulling down on my back pockets a little bit, and so that's going to bring me back towards the posterior or the back side of my sit bones or ischial tuberosities. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the surface to expand posteriorly between the shoulder blades and then push my hands apart. So I'm supinating and externally rotating without moving my elbows. So I'm trying to get my hands a little bit wider than my elbows. Now if I take a breath in here, I get pure dorsal rostral expansion. So that gives me the sensation. Now I can take that sensation and just carry it over to any other activity where I'm also trying to achieve that dorsal rostral expansion. So give that a try. If you're doing some kind of band pull-apart activity, thinking that you can alleviate your shoulder pain with bench pressing, you might want to think again. The band pull-apart actually compresses the space between the shoulder blades that steals the range of motion in your shoulder that might be causing the pain in the first place. Instead, try this. Take a short band around your wrist like so, put your forearms against the wall, keep your elbows below shoulder level. Take a little baby squat, tuck your hips under, push back to expand the space between your shoulder blades, and then pull your hands apart. You're going to feel a little bit of burn on the back of the shoulder, but you're also going to get that expansion in the upper back that's going to restore the shoulder range of motion that bench press is stealing.